and welcome back to W Rated, the podcast where we willingly watch the world's worst rated movies. In today's episode, we delve into the next film on IMDb's bottom 100 list, welcoming a new special guest. So for any new listeners out there, my name's Daisy, and as always, I'm joined by podcast co-creator, editor, co-host, and everything else. I need to add more things. We said last time we were going to add more things. I will add more things next time, but it's Claire. I don't think you need an introduction, to be fair, at this point. I think you should just be like, Cher, but Claire.
I mean, I actually do think I've started cutting some of them out when I edit it. I can't guarantee
It's because
that.
I ramble. I just don't want to not give you credit
Thanks.
where it's due. But how are you?
I'm a bit bewildered.
Frazzled.
That was the word, frazzled. For those keeping count, I've once again moved house. I think this is my 5th or 6th living location in the 16 episodes we've recorded. So, you know, just if
That's
you're
crazy.
keeping count on Claire's moving company, we have successfully moved again.
I love it because I'm actually moving soon. So if you're going to make that an official business, then you've got your first client.
That's my thing. You can't move. Moving is my thing.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to copy you. Imitation's the sincerest form of flattery. But anyway, we're very pleased to share that today we have joining us filmmaker and owner and director of Portsmouth's Apple Park Films. It's Adam Nelson. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Great. We have a bit of a tradition on the podcast where our guests intro the film we're going to be talking about. So do you want to take it away and tell us about the film that we're talking about today?
So this is FearDotCom. It's a horror film starring Stephen Dorff and Natasha McElhone. I think I'm pronouncing that badly. Directed by William Malone, who did Haunting of Hill House in the 90s, the very late 90s. And as a filmmaker, I try and be really kind about these things because obviously I know how hard it is. But I mean, it's a mess. Is the only thing I can really.
I love that. I love going straight in with with the critiques, but that's fair enough, and we can definitely dive into more about that. What's your relationship with the film? I know that you mentioned to us off pod that you'd seen it before. What was the circumstances in which you'd seen it?
I used to work in a supermarket that was part of like a block of shops, and one of the shops was a video rental store. And so I was studying film studies at college whilst I was there. I became a member of the video rental store. And every Friday night, Saturday night, I would go across the choices and rent something. And one of those things was FearDotCom. And
it was a big mistake.
It was. It was so bad that I forgot that I had rented it and I racked up a massive amount of late fees on it because I forgot to take it back.
Double punishment.
It cursed you. That was your biggest fear, dying by rental fee death.
That was it.
That's your nightmare. Your biggest fear. Claire, did you know about this film before? Have you heard about it? Or
I did. Not the same, but oddly similar. I heard about this film when it came out, and I bought this is one of our oldest films we've done, which is not even
crazy because it's a noughties film,
but
madness.
I bought a pirate VHS copy of this film from a car boot sale when it came out originally.
Bootleg, love it.
Proper bootleg, pirate VHS. I must have paid a couple of quid for it, and I never watched it. It sat on the shelf of VHSs for, I'd say, probably, when did I go to university? At least until 2007, if not past that, until my parents were finally like, we're getting rid of all the VHSs, no one watches them anymore. Never got watched, never even got put in the player.
Yeah, I forgot I had it, and I went to rent something else a couple of weeks later, and they were like, you can't rent anything until you've bought this back and paid the fees on it.
Had you at least watched it?
Yeah, I watched it, and
you got further than me.
Kind of, I must have got to the end and just thought, well, that was crap. I'll take that back on.
You were like, I
Sunday
want
or whenever.
Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. This film away from my memory. I don't want to even think about its existence anymore. So I have no relationship with this film whatsoever. I had no idea that it existed. I remember seeing the poster, and the poster really freaks me out. It looked like a doll's face, like a ventriloquist doll thing. So this was one I was actually quite looking forward to watching. Whether that greatly affects my enjoyment, we shall discover. But it's definitely one that I was intrigued by. So I think we should just launch straight into it. Spoiler warning for anyone that does want to watch the film before listening to the podcast. We will go into all kinds of details here, so make sure you hop off now and watch that before listening to the rest. But Adam, got to head straight in. Tell us more about why you think this film's a mess.
There's stuff I like about it. Like there are things I genuinely think are quite cool about it. Like I love the sort of expressionist like camera work that's in some of it, and how it goes into all these like really crazy kind of Dutch angles and such. And that's all really, really cool. But I have no idea what the story is. It came out. The person credited with coming up with the story is Moshe Diamond, who is again, I'm probably pronouncing that badly, who is a producer. He produces, and so all I can imagine is I made a list of films that it's kind of like. And I reckon he sat down one weekend and watched Pulse, Ringu, Event Horizon, and Seven, and went, "I want to make that movie."
Yeah, I was going to say.
Someone said, "What movie?" He said, "All of them."
We know what the plot is because it's the plot of Ring. Like it is just the plot of the Ring.
It is really similar. It's also really similar to Pulse, which came out around the same time.
I've not heard of that one. I'll have to check that one out.
It's a really cool like slow burn horror by the other Kurosawa, not the big Kurosawa, the younger one. And it's about ghosts that come through the computer and take people away.
Oh.
And it's like an analysis of our sort of like society, particularly in Japan's like society's reliance on technology to communicate and come together. But Pulse is really good.
That's the difference. I mean, really I was listening to that going, now that is a film I'd much rather see. And it feels like that's probably something that they were maybe trying to go for, as you say, like watching all of these and going, I want to take the best bits of that and make something else. In terms of what we were saying about the plot, I did just completely skip over what I usually do, which is say the plot and the rating. So let's just quickly rewind there. It's got a 3.4 out of 10. So not our lowest, not our highest. It's pretty average in our world. But in terms of the plot, I mean, it sounds super like generic. So the plot that they've got listed on IMDb is that a New York City detective investigates mysterious deaths occurring 48 hours after users log onto a site named FearDotCom. I mean, if I was reading that without knowing anything, I would immediately think of The Ring. The Ring is one of my favourite horror films ever, and I haven't actually seen Ringu, so I really do need to watch the original. But it definitely felt like a product of its time around the sort of like Y2K, the .com boom, all of this fear about technology. It's an interesting premise, but what do you guys think about the execution?
I thought that some of it was fine, but it felt very weighed down by, because I full on thought it was a horror film until I watched it, and I was like, this isn't really like, and like, I'm quite stiff on my genre definitions, as we know.
Yes.
But also, like, even in terms of horror, like, I still to this day do not understand people, and I know that like they are, but I'm just like, no, they're not. Silence of the Lambs and Jaws, neither of them are horror films. I don't care what you say, neither of them are horror films.
Thrillers.
They're just not what I agree with. So this for me is very much definitely didn't feel horror at all. It felt thriller. But then it's like they didn't know what they wanted to be, and they've got one foot in horror and one foot in thriller. And there are some films that toe that line brilliantly. Like there's moments of Seven, which obviously is like so heavily inspires this film, but this one wasn't it. Like I think they took all the wrong bits of each genre and
tried to do a homage, but then ended up joining all the worst bits together. Not ideal.
Yeah, there's like 3 or 4 interesting on their own ideas that aren't working together. They're working against each other. So you've got like Stephen Dorff's plot, which is about the detective who's hunting the serial killer who does things who screens his murders on the web. It's kind of ordinary on its own and probably wouldn't have been made if it was pitched. And then you've got this kind of cool idea of the ghost coming through the computer to enact revenge. But the film doesn't weave them together until right at the end. And it's just like,
exactly.
so they're both on the internet. Is that like the big deal? And then right at the end, it's almost as though they realise, oh, we've got to tie this up somehow. Here we go. This will do.
Yeah, I think that was my main problem with it, really. Like, I thought it had quite a lot of promise, and I really kind of liked this whole grungy Evanescence, early noughties, like, look to it. It looked so grimy, and, like, I think that can work really well for horror films, particularly ones with body horror. But yeah, it's this idea of, okay, we've got FearDotCom, which is essentially like a webcam torture porn site with real life people being tortured.
FearDotCom.com.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so like we don't usually do trivia straight away, but I did find out about this.
Yeah.
It's because they couldn't buy FearDotCom as a domain name. But do you need to?
Yeah, they
do you
need
need
to show it. They could have just had him click on and it come up saying.
Do you know
FearDotCom.
what my theory though? The reason they didn't do that is because they were like, we're gonna do loads of promotional website stuff, like blah blah blah. So like the idea behind
And what I will
fell
say
down
then-
at the marketing.
I will say, in fairness, one of the positives of this film, I liked the website. I miss old websites. Websites now are so
Really
boring.
brought back memories.
Yeah.
Really brought back memories to what websites were like.
And it was so much fun and so creative and so cool, and like things felt themed. Like,
So it reminded me of a CD-ROM because I wasn't allowed to go on the internet at the age that I was when this came out. But I imagine that it's quite similar in the way that it was designed. It's like this whole world that you take into, very interactive, very immersive. Because I was looking at this website like, this is going hard. Like,
but that's
this
like
isn't...
all websites were like that. Like, I was heavy in my Buffy the Vampire Slayer phase when this came out, and like I remember going on like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode guide because I didn't know about forums yet, and like there were no spoilers and no Twitter, so to learn about what was going on in Buffy if I missed an episode, because also we didn't have like recording boxes. I would go on like these episode guides, and you'd go on and it would immediately like open up the Slayer book and it would play the theme tune and it had like blood dripping down and it was like so like themed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we really let that go. We've gone so corporate. Like, it's so sad.
Yeah, it brought back some amazing memories of websites I used to visit when I was younger. And like there was a period in time when it was just as broadband launched and suddenly everything was high speed for them. And like everyone was like, we can do this, so let's do it. And they just threw everything at the wall and saw what stuck with websites, and it's exactly like that on here.
Yeah.
It's funny you said that about the loading, because when we was watching this and waiting for the website to load, sometimes I was just like, this is loaded way too quickly. It's just already there.
But I remember like sometimes they kind of did, because there were so many elements, it kind of held you at a page until it was ready.
Because it was like interactive, and it was like the way that they were typing everything out, it was as if they were talking to someone in the computer, which again is alluded to, that's the ghost. But just going back to the point about the two different plots not quite intertwining, I really didn't get it right until the end, because you got this guy who's streaming the kills in this really, really like mega German expressionist, like conceptual website, but there are people that are dying from this, what's not a virus, but people have got blood coming out of their eyes and their mouths and their ears, and these both ideas have been introduced at the exact same time. You're like, okay, so somehow they're connected. And then as you go through the story, usually a film like this would give you clues to see how they're connected. Whereas I feel like this one just kind of had the two running side by side. And yes, you did only really understand and learn things as the characters did. But this isn't real life. This is a story. So you kind of need to, tweak it and make it so that it keeps your interest and it makes you go, that connects to this and that connects to that. Which I feel like just kind of lost the art of that in this one.
And I wonder if that's kind of like the sort of East Asian influence on the film, because in films like in Korea and Japan, when they tell these kinds of stories, like they're like, we don't have to make it make sense because it's a horror film.
Love it. I'm just like, spoon feed me.
Western audiences, Daisy, you're the problem.
I'm the problem.
It is. It's just like they're just like Pulse has no real definitive kind of explanation as to what's happening. You are expected to figure it out yourself.
It's
as
interesting
you
because I
go.
like doing that from films normally. So I wonder if I've just been watching too many bad films that if
We
my
did
bias
just do 22 Razzie films.
22
I think,
Razzies, maybe
our
my
brains
bias is
are a bit
leaning
dead.
more towards the
It
bad
does
side.
also help if like the story's told well, and that's
Yeah,
like what
of
they
course.
do, and this isn't told well.
Maybe it's just maybe I feel like if there's some sort of like emotional payoff or connection to the end of the story, you know, like as you were sort of alluding to in terms of like things like ambiguous endings, or you kind of have to, you know, work it out without it being told to you, but there's that feeling of either satisfaction or confusion or like, oh, you know, an actual, whereas this just kind of went, oh, that was what that was about. Oh, okay, fine. That's the issue, I think, maybe.
My issue, and I say this all the time as well because I'm boring and whatever, but I think you can have a weak plot if you have a strong character, and you can have weak characters if you have a strong plot. This had weak characters and a weak plot, so I think we could have forgiven a lot of the weaknesses of the plot and the storytelling if we stuck with one of the characters and felt they really developed and had a persona. But it was like, whose film is this? Who are we focusing on? And I know that I always go on about how I don't like ensemble films. This wasn't even particularly ensemble based. It just felt like they kept changing which one they wanted to be the lead character.
Yeah.
I suspect this film was test screened and then rewritten significantly, because there's plenty of scenes in here where you've got all the cool German expressionistic stuff, which is clearly William Malone, because that's like the stuff he loves, and it was all over Haunting of Hill House. Mm-hmm. And then there are scenes where people just pop into a room to say something to jolt the plot along, and there's no style to it at all. And I reckon they went back like a couple of months later and put those in with a different director just to get it done.
Yeah. And maybe that's going back to what we were just saying before about the disconnect. Maybe it's that it didn't lean into either one enough. It wasn't fully polished as this, you know, detective thriller, but it also didn't fully lean into this bizarre, all over the place, like really strong, like expressionist horror either, that it kind of just, as things do when they get the studio involved, just get a bit butchered and lose their intent.
There must have been at least one banging draft of the script, because like this is a great cast. These are great actors. You know, Stephen Dorff is always dependable and, you know, generally very good. Stephen Mire is a really great character actor. I've been a huge fan of Nastasia McElhone for years. You know, these are good actors. I do wonder if for her this was kind of sold to her as her kind of breakout leading role,
potentially.
But like, they're a great cast, so there must have been at least one really good draft of the script at some point.
And then it got smushed around.
Yeah.
Passed amongst many hands, as these things do. But it's interesting, like, sort of going back to what you were saying, Adam, about who wrote it, because I can't remember name off the top of my head. I'm just bringing it up now. It was Moshe Delmont did the story, who's a producer predominantly. But then in terms of the screenplay, I've seen that there's a Josephine Coyle. She's only done one other film. And then there was also contributing writer of Holly Paper Turoya, who's literally just done one producing credit and done like assistant to director roles, like on things like Friends, and it's just so random. And I just love to be a fly on the wall on how these crews come together, especially when they're just not necessarily the roles they're known for or have come from, and how it kind of comes about.
This was the 2000s, so like the spec market and coming up with films on the fly to make stuff was really common, because the DVD market had just exploded, and suddenly they had loads of. There was a massive need for content because it suddenly became really cheap, and the DVD market exploding also brought a lot of foreign language cinema to the UK. It was really hard to get hold of on VHS. You had to really look for it. Right. Whereas once DVD appeared, you could walk in the HMV and there it was.
Wow.
I remember getting an Avon catalogue around 1999 that had a full page advert at the back for Ringu, saying it was the most important film ever made and such. And my mum was like, "Oh, that sounds amazing." Oh, it's in Japanese, never mind. But
you win some, you lose some.
But like, you know, so suddenly like content exploded and studios needed to fill gaps in the market. So it was producers were literally coming up with ideas and like, this sounds great. Let's hire some mates to write it, and off we go. Moshe Diamond, he's producing loads of films, including Time Cop, which I feel is an undervalued classic.
One day I'm going to watch this film because people bring it up all the time, and I think for ages I thought it was like a fake parody movie. And I'm like, I realised over time that like, oh no, it's a real movie, and I'm like, gonna explore that one day.
It's peak Van Damme. It really is. It was him at his best.
Brilliant.
I don't know if I've ever seen a Van Damme film.
Oh, you're missing out on some classics.
I've been very against action, but I'm in my old age. I'm learning my ways wrong. I think I just watched a couple of really shit ones as a young kid and was like, all are bad. And now I'm like, oh no, there's like everything. There is some shit. There is some good.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you saying about that insight behind like, you know, that demand for content when you sort of compare what the industry's like now, because we're like just absolutely drowning in content, and yet there's a lot of conversation about, you know, all of the money being sort of funneled into the same things and the loss of sort of like the mid-budget films. So yeah, that's really exciting to think about all the possibilities that came out from that DVD introduction into the market. All the stories and new people.
I think we're missing out now compared to, well, in cinema terms, I think we're missing out now. Like the streamers have kind of picked it up a bit and run with it in terms of like the mid-level sort of stuff. But they're just so keen to have stuff that they kind of, it just gets made, and I don't think there's as much of a critical eye on it, although that said, we are talking about FearDotCom, so...
Yeah.
I think in the noughties, when it was the DVD market, I think there was a real boom of genre films, which is why this is the kind of film that was made in that era, because like just as when VHSs began, all the horror fans rushed out to get these copies of horror films. So companies wanted more horror films on the horror shelf in HMV, so people would pick up like, oh, this one's next to Ringu, fuck it, I'll give it a go too. Yeah. Whereas now Netflix is all about what can we put on the front page.
Yeah.
So it's all about either the recognisable star or the recognisable character. No one wants to look at an interesting concept of a poster or a synopsis.
No, and I would argue that and some people might be like, well, duh, but they're competing with cinema now. Stream. Mm-hmm. They're not really trying to kind of be a different thing, a different medium. Yeah, I think as they've sort of realised their pull on the market, their hold over the market, they've realised actually the way to get more money is to get people stop going out to the cinema and making the big cinema event the in-house, you know, at home thing. And unfortunately that means that, we've just lost all of these cool stuff that I'm sure is still being made and is on there, but it's plastered over with the big A-list posters glossed over, unfortunately.
I read something recently about Red Notice, and it was if you took the amount of streams that Red Notice had and adjusted it for what it would have cost, what it would have made if it had worked in the cinema, it wipes the floor with pretty much everything that was released in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Wow.
But you might not have paid to have gone see Red Notice at the cinema.
And Netflix count a stream is, what is it, like less than the first 5 minutes?
Is it?
But then again, cinemas count it on who buys a ticket, not who stays. And as we've said before, most people don't ask for a refund if it's shit. So
that's a really good point.
But yeah, like you say, maybe not everyone would have taken a punt at it. Like I ended up watching The Adam Project recently on Netflix because it was 2 a.m. and we wanted something to just put on the TV and not pay attention to. I definitely wouldn't have been on a Saturday at the cinema being like, I'll pay 10 quid to see that. I would have seen something better.
And one thing I will say about horror in the cinema is that it was like my favourite thing to go see in the cinema as sort of like a young teenager up until even now, like, because it's one of those ones where it really elevates the atmosphere so much. I genuinely think that this would have really freaked me out if I'd seen it in the cinema, to be honest. Because it's so stylistic and
you're reacting to the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing Quarantine when that came out, and I had seen Rec before Quarantine, and so I knew exactly what Quarantine was going to be, and I went to the cinema to see Quarantine so I could sit in the corner of the screen and watch everybody else and they did, because it is exactly the same film.
what the cinema reaction would have been to this film, because obviously,
Well,
like
the
we know.
cinema score.
Oh yeah, F. We don't need to wonder. We know.
And again, though, like that, we said it in our Know Who Killed Me episode. The cinema score is usually based on the advertising rather than the actual film itself.
Yeah, because it's based on it essentially works out. Was it what you expected? Because you're going in for people who have chosen to see that film specifically. Are they happy with it or not? And I always say, I like to rewatch films that I didn't like based on expectation, so that when I do watch them, that sort of bias is taken away, so I can work out whether I actually do like it or not. So cinema score can get in the bin upon that theory. But
You're absolutely right. I remember going to see the first It, and it was sold in the trailers as being terrifying, and what I got was like the Goonies. And so when I saw it a second time, I was like, actually, I much prefer this now that I know what I'm getting. So yeah, it's absolutely right, and you can tell this would have been sold as a horror film. I haven't watched the trailer, but it is on.
I've seen bits of the trailer because I was watching interviews with the actress Natasha, and it very much felt like kind of Seven. It felt like an advert for Seven. It was like slick, detective-y, dark, grimy. Ooh,
yeah, cockroaches.
There we go. I can see why I got an F cinema score if that's
it would have instantly got an F from me because I have a very, 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 very big bug phobia. Cockroaches being the second worst on the list after spiders.
So you had fun with one of these scenes.
I actively stood up and left the room, and I didn't even pause it. I didn't even fast forward it. I just straight up stood up and went into a different room and started doing something else until I could hear that there was different people who weren't in the scene talking, and I went back in and sat back down.
I think that's the perfect way to go about it, to be quite honest, because you're just like, do you know what? I know what I deserve, and it's not this. I'm just going to remove myself from the situation. Then I'm going to come back when everything's calmed down.
Yeah.
You've suffered enough up until that point.
Yeah. Claire actually texted me saying, did you not warn me? Did you not think to warn me about the cockroaches, or have you not watched it yet? And I said I hadn't watched it. And then when I started watching it, I texted her saying, did you not think to warn me about the mouse in the slipper? Because I have a mouse phobia.
And I did when it happened, but then the cockroaches happened, and I got so distracted by my own fear.
So both of our FearDotComs were featured heavily.
Yeah. But I think that's the only scene that even remotely scared me because it was playing up on a genuine phobia I have. Like, if that had been anything else, I don't know what else you could do that aren't insects, and it's what I hate. Like, I like horror films, but especially like when I watch an older horror film, there's always bloody insects, and like, stop it, just stop.
Reliable.
But, like, they're creepy and they're an
reliable
easy
for scares.
But there wasn't anything even that felt remotely scary other than that for me.
No, I don't know. I just got a big vibe. I just got a big scary vibe. Like, I liked it. I think it's just this. Do you know what it is? The CD-ROM thing. I used to be quite scared of the computer. I don't know how best to explain this, but there was one incident where I used to listen to like music on the computer because like CDs used to be CD-ROMs as well. You could watch music videos and stuff. And I remember ejecting the CD. I remember taking out the CD-ROM before I'd ejected it, and it made this awful noise, and it was so loud, and I like freaked out about it. And then I think that I was scared of it making that noise again. But I don't know, just this. I always have these, like, I've got my TV at the end of my bed, but for the longest time when I first did that, I have this fear of it suddenly turning on and showing something scary. So I don't really like screens. Like Charlie Brooker's like, yes, be scared of the black screen. But I get scared in case something scary is going to pop up. So I actually think this kind of worked for me as a very unique individual about going onto these really weird websites and not knowing what you're going to see. Like, it did freak me out, to be completely honest with you.
I think as well, it was like really ahead of its time when you look at then, like, I still haven't seen Host, but when you think of things like Host and when you
see, that doesn't scare me. I think this old like the proper big computers, just the look and vibe of them reminds me more of being a kid and not knowing what's going to come up on my screen, whereas like I use computers all day every day now, it's just a little bit less like that.
Well, it reminded me of Unfriended Dark Web. which
Oh, I haven't
has like
seen that.
lots of elements of people going on to creepy fucked up websites and watching creepy fucked up things, and I think that
Might even
upset
like
me.
creepypasta and things like that. You know, when you just
Yeah,
start reading things and you're like, oh, this is freaking me out. Or, you know, we were talking about reading horror films Wikipedias and
yeah,
freaking yourself out. Like,
yeah.
that's the kind of thing.
But I think it's just what I found interesting was like nowadays there are like, maybe not Reddit. I don't know how dark Reddit really goes, and I don't want to know how dark Reddit really goes. But there are like all sorts of forums of that vein where you can just go on and watch videos of people torturing people, and you can pay to join live streams of this stuff happening, really. And I don't know if maybe back in the day would people have really known that people like, as in like, I don't think I think it was ahead of itself by saying people would choose to go on this website, people would choose to watch this.
Yeah.
I don't think that a lot of people would have believed that at that time.
But I think also at that time, like now, all that stuff is kept very separate. Like if you want to find that, you have to look for it.
Yeah.
Whereas, like I remember the days of GeoCities where you could just stumble over something
Right.
very, very disgusting and such. You know, we were, when I was younger, we were all tricked by Goatsy, which was just horrific and disgusting. And you know, it wasn't hard to stumble over.
It was like viral content, right? People would, you know, like chainmail
Yeah.
and stuff. People would be like, "Oh, have you heard about this?" And then you Google it. You don't know what it is until you've Googled it, and it's this sense of like
This was back
finding
in the day.
out.
This was lawless time. This was Ask
fucking
Jeeves
around and
Yahoo.
finding out the horror
Yeah.
edition.
Like I remember accidentally stumbling on Two Girls, One Cup and being
God.
alive.
Yeah.
Now you actually have to look for it. You know,
Yeah.
if you want to see it, you have to look for it, and no one should ever look for it because it's monstrous. But like, you know, we stumbled on it by accident. It was just there all of a sudden, and it starts out so lovely, and by the time you realise what it is, it's tricked you, and it's like, oh.
I've never seen it, but my
I
favourite
have,
thing ever.
unfortunately.
I know it came out as that it was faked, but the person that did like a shot by shot breakdown for a university essay of it, like they did
No
it as
way.
it turned out, I do believe it was faked, but like there was this thing, cause I think that came out a year or two before I went to film school, and then we were at film school, like everyone sent the essay around because we were all doing film essays, and yeah, someone did like a proper like academic essay.
Imagine
on it.
having to like study that. Oh no.
Well, it turned out it was fake, but it's a great joke. Like it was a good essay. I read the essay.
Oh no, I feel sick just thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean when we're thinking about real life things in comparison, I think we've got a lot more of a visceral reaction to what you actually see in this film, because you don't really see any torture, and I hate to sound depraved, but I was a little bit disappointed because I wanted to be scared by that.
I was quite surprised as well, because all of the reviews and all of the write-ups and all of the comments about this film are, it's really like grotesque and like brutal and unnecessarily so, and I was like, how much earlier was this than like Saw? Because then you get this whole wave of torture porn, and like, mate, you guys had no idea what we were all about to live through.
Yeah. That being said, it might even be the same year as the Saw short that was originally made. So actually, it has no excuse.
It's funny you say that, because I looked on IMDb earlier, and like the first review on IMDb was, "It's not bad. It's just disgusting and depraved." And I was like, no.
Yeah, I found it quite tame.
Yeah.
And you're not a massive like horror film on your own watching person, are you?
No, I was quite worried about watching it by myself. I was like, and then the cockroaches came, but I think by that point I'd figured out it wasn't going to be too scary after the Udo Kier scene. Who, oh my god, I love Udo Kier, and I was like, oh my god, Udo Kier, and then they killed him off, and I was like, damn it. But yeah, I think I'd figured by that point that it wasn't gonna really scare me. But yeah, it felt very tame, so it's very interesting to see that at the time it was considered really really brutal.
And I wonder if it's just because of the style of it. It feels really like disgusting and dirty and grimy, just because of like, as I say, very Evanescence music video.
The set design's amazing. Like,
it really is
fantastic. Stylishly, it's really, really good. And what was quite interesting for me was when I first saw it, I wasn't quite as knowledgeable with film. I was only doing film A-level, and I hadn't quite seen as much stuff as I have now. But what was really fascinating to me was watching it again and seeing just how much it takes from other things. And I think that's a big part of the problem for me. It's not original. It takes so much from other stuff. Like the bouncing ball is from The Changeling, which is a film I love.
It reminded me of children. Well, not the ball, but the little girl, Children of the Corn for me.
Yeah. Or The Shining, or the creepy little girls with dead stares is such a common thing in other.
Why was she in that terrible wig? Like in my brain, they just they watched The Ring or Ringu, whichever version they watched, probably Ringu because I don't think The Ring was out yet, and they were like, right, so this girl is Asian and has lots of really long dark hair. So what we need is a really white girl with really short white hair. And then
it doesn't make sense. Like obviously, like as I say, I've only watched Gordon Vince's version of The Ring, so like Samara, like she looks like she's been down a well. That's the point. But she's still creepy when she's herself as well. This I get maybe was going for more the ghostly angelic kind of vibe, because at the end of the day, spoiler alert, and that's the victim. So, but then just do better makeup or effects. You've done so much of it in the rest of the film, like. What she looked like just seemed really cheap.
Hall of Fame. It's going in my bad wig Hall of Fame. We've had a few.
Give the girl a lace front, my God.
There's, like the paleness comes from, apparently there's a subplot in there about haemophilia.
Yeah,
and the girl is a haemophiliac, and but it's like one of those things that just felt sort of tossed in at the end.
Well, she's also in the credits listed as albino girl, and it's like haemophilia and albinoism are
not
the
different
things.
Yeah. Very, very different things. Yeah, it's interesting you said about the haemophilia, because it felt like they thought it was like a huge payoff, like in the script, because obviously we've spoken about this guy that's, streaming all of these kills. The reason people are sort of dying from this so-called virus or whatever, but it isn't, is because they're watching FearDotCom, and it's because there's a ghost haunting the website, and the ghost is the ghost of one of his victims, and the victim died through being basically cut open whilst being alive. So the payoff that they had, or they supposedly felt that they had, was that everyone was dying from their worst fears, cockroaches, drowning, but actually she just laid down in a bathtub, by the by. She died apparently from her worst fear of knives, because obviously, for those who don't know, haemophilia is the inability to have blood clots to create scabs. So you will literally just keep bleeding. So it's like they had this little, oh my God, she died by her worst fear, knives. I'll be like, that's a big fear for me too, dying by knives, But I get what they were trying to go for, but it got lost in the script, like you said. It just didn't really feel like it had that payoff.
Yeah, it's I honestly think it was rewritten to death.
How did you guys feel about how the fears themselves were presented, like with the weird ball? Like what was the ball about? What did the ball have to do with her having haemophilia or a
Well, she always had the ball, Claire, when she was a girl. Remember when?
Why did the fears come out of the ball?
The ball came from Dasha Mionte watching the Changeling and going, I want that in my movie as well. he's like John Peters, John Peters in the story Kevin Smith tells about his Superman script. Like he wants his giant fucking spider, and Dasha Diamante wants his white ball. Because it's creepy. In the Changeling.
I do feel like we put a lot more thought into these episodes than sometimes the filmmakers have put into the script.
I think what also let it down is how the fears were presented. Was that I watched too much TV, and it just immediately brought to mind the episode of Buffy. I believe it's in season 1 or season 2, where she is in a hospital and she's been haunted by a demon that No, I always mix 2 episodes up, but there's an episode where they're all haunted by their fears, and then there's an episode where children are haunted by the boogeyman in a hospital, but they are both terrifying, and it's all about nightmares that only they can see.
There's been something more recently about fears as well. I can't remember if it was TV or film, but it's like people dying by or seeing what they fear the most. Like it's quite an interesting trope for sure.
Because like Charmed did it so many times, because Charmed was all about witches and demons, and they had a whole demon whose job
Supernatural
was...
did it. now I'm thinking of
he
it.
brought fears to life, and the way that they did it in that, and this was like a CW show back in the day. It was WB and UPN and whatever they all were called.
An acronym of some kind.
Yeah.
Sorry, initialization.
But like they managed to do it on a low budget and do it effectively, and I understood in this why they really wanted to freak us out, and they were like, it's going to suddenly be really different and really crazy and you're going to be so freaked out, but all it did was immediately snap me out of any amount of tension they'd maybe being able to build and make me go, oh, okay, we've changed what we're doing, whereas there was no brewing. They should have let it gently.
The
so
only
that you could
fear
be
I
like, real
remember
or
is
not.
the cockroaches. Because
So
I
there's
get the
Udo
drowning,
Kier
but she actually just sat in the bath, didn't she?
So Udo Kier in the train station, he follows the little girl. She goes
he
onto the tracks
So what's his fear? Being hit by a train?
by a train, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, you
And,
can tell.
But I would argue that we're all scared of that.
And Terry's boss is terrified of a car crash, which is why he gets in his car.
That was interesting. No, I did really like that one.
But it
that
starts
felt
like freaking him out and changing the shot types and changing the colorization, and I was like, just let me be scared of the car. Like, you don't need to do more, do less.
I found that like sequence really, really bizarre because like 1 minute she's in the office talking to him, and the next thing he's at a factory.
Yeah.
Like, how did he get there? What's going on? Why is he there? What's happening? Like,
I
it was
can't actually remember
weird.
what that was supposed to be about, to be honest.
And it's the terrible curse that like bad slasher films do, which is no one cares about who gets killed if you don't make us care about the character. Just introducing someone the scene before they died is very boring as an audience.
Yes.
We want a bit of suspense, we want to meet all the characters, we want to start to worry about who are we going to lose in the gang, whereas this did the typical thing, hi, meet a new character, we're going to kill them in the next scene, so learn their name.
Did we know how did the boyfriend die? Do we remember, of the German couple?
He died in the prison cell, didn't he? I'm not sure.
What was the fear?
Did they even mention that?
I don't know, because they didn't really know what the fears were at that point.
Yeah, I just feel like, just in talking about like tropes and things that are a bit like, come on. For me, there was that section with the couple with the found footage. And I'm sorry, I'm such a stickler for it. I'm always thinking to myself, why would they be filming at this specific moment from this specific angle that's just so convenient for the plot? Like, it really takes me out of it. Why would you be filming yourself watching a website?
Yeah. For me, it was the German that they spoke. Like, that would it have been so hard to hire 2 actual German people who speak German rather than have someone just go, give me the camera in a really dodgy German accent.
I wasn't sure about their background, so
if they're both German, they would talk to each other in German, surely.
Speaking about the language, though, I did note down something that I thought was quite funny. When I'm just going to call them the boyfriend and the girlfriend. When the boyfriend's brought into the police station and he's going really mental and he's got all the blood coming out and he's like shouting and screaming, and the detective is like, "Oh, find out what he's saying in whatever language he's speaking." And then cut to the next scene when the German guy is dead in the prison cell. The woman goes, this is German for murderer. And he goes, I know. You didn't even know what language he was talking a second ago. He says something like, well, that's obvious. It's like, is it obvious though? Because I wouldn't have known that. Sarky. He felt threatened by the beautiful and competent health service director or whatever she was that came in to solve everything, which I think is hilarious. Having her, like, I love where they were going with that. Obviously, they thought it was like some sort of health scare, like concern with the virus. But I love how that even when it wasn't, she just carried on doing the job anyway.
I loved like the continuation of that bit when he's like chewing her out, and he's just like, "Oh, great! So we could all just be dying here. What is with you people? You just let this thing run wild." And she it cuts to Terry, and she's smirking, and I absolutely believe that is a genuine reaction to the line, because it's so funny. I wrote it down because it just seems such a bizarre thing to say. Like, also, it's her fault that someone has Ebola.
Yeah, what's with their relationship? Because obviously they're kind of become partners. then all of a sudden, I think she's like, please don't go on the website. And all of a sudden he embraces her like
They're in love by the
a
end.
relationship. And then the next thing you know, she wakes up and looks around going, why is he missing from our bed? It's not that even that she in her own apartment, she in his apartment.
It's like a crime scene. They're at
It's
the
at the
crime
crime scene. Oh my God. It's just like, where has he gone? Why is he not in bed? Sis, why would he be in bed with you at a crime scene?
I wrote it down because I rewound it to make sure I was right, and they're at the crime scene, and it was just so weird. I was like, have they
really
just
weird.
popped off a crime scene? Surely someone would say something about that. Like,
very, very strange. Another one of my favourite pieces of dialogue was when she's on the phone to the ghost. I want to say, I can't really remember. And she proceeds to say these two phrases after one another. Leave me alone. Where are you?
Yeah.
That really tickled me, to be fair, because if I was that ghost, I'd be like, which one do you want? Because I can't do them both.
There's some weird stuff in it. Oh, and the lipstick as well.
Oh my God, I was just about to bring up the lipstick. I was like, wow, that awful, depraved doctor who chops up people for fun really got spooked by a lipstick.
It's just, for me, it was like she must have swallowed it before he killed her. I mean, that thing is huge. Like, it's the size of my thumb. Like, swallowing that would have been...
And she was supposed to have died with, like, basically having a live autopsy. At what point did she go, yeah, I'm on my way out now, I'll pop that in, and not expect him to find it whilst he's taking out like her intestines or whatever? Very, very strange. Like I get it. I get what they were going for, but yeah, too many plot holes in that sense. But I love that it was like a vampire with a crucifix holding up this lipstick as if he would know. Because the thing is, it's like it's kind of a Chekhov's gun thing here, where they've brought the lipstick in, and you think, and then you see at the end that it comes in really quite useful. But you don't really understand what the doctor's connection is with it. You only see. I think this is maybe something that is maybe could have tied everything together a little bit more. You see the doctor a lot just talk to his victims and kind of tease them and torture them, but you don't actually see anything happen. And then the only other scene you see is right at the beginning where he finds the victim, but you don't ever see his relationship with the dead girl, right? With the ghost. You only see it with this new victim. So the point of the ghost being his previous victim is completely pointless, to say, lack of a better phrase. Like, obviously it's a horrible story and the poor girl, but we don't know her as a character whatsoever, so why do we care?
Yeah, exactly. Again, it's just like he watched these films in a certain order, and every time he watched them, I want that in my movie.
Yeah.
I want that in my movie. And in the third act, he's got to fight a giant fucking spider.
It kind of, the way you were describing that then, Claire, it kind of reminded me of what we were sort of saying what parodies should be, which is using your love for film and saying, this is what I recognize from this film and this and this. Granted, maybe not the worst parts, but that could make a good comedy. And yet the parodies don't do that. I also wrote down that they had a Rammstein song in there as well, which is always good for good measure if you're doing a German horror film.
Do you know how he found Rammstein?
No.
So this film was meant to be filmed and set in New York City. Did it look like New York to you guys?
No, it just looked like a dingy back alley.
It was meant to be New York, and then for some reason the studio were like, no, you're going to go film it in Luxembourg.
Enjoy.
Just for no reason.
Does it feel like tax breaks or something?
It would be tax breaks, yeah.
And they filmed it in Canada as well, I think, which is definitely cheaper to film it.
Yeah, so he tried to make Luxembourg look like New York, and when he was out there doing some pre-stuff, he just randomly heard the Rammstein song and thought it was hilarious and was like, we're going to put that in the movie. And they did.
I think the whole film was made that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Another thing that I just while I'm sort of bouncing through my my notes, I had to say, like when obviously we've talked about the design of the website, which is great. But what I don't understand is why everyone's like background and their desktop looked like that too. Like their search engines looked like they were part of the website, like they were supposed to be scary. Like when they're searching for files that matched or websites that matched up between everyone's computers to see what the common thing was, it looked like it was part of the Fear.com website. To me, anyway.
Daisy, you said you were scared of computers about 20 minutes ago, so I'm not going to take that one with a pinch of salt.
It didn't look like, but it just didn't look like what a computer in the noughties looked like if you were just using a search function. Do you know what I mean? And the other thing was so much fake lightning.
Yeah,
so much, like proper.
Atmosphere.
That was my impression.
I think the kind of biggest thing that sticks out on my notes for me is just the very sad note at the end that's just like, what an anticlimactic ending.
Yeah.
And like it tried to build something for the whole film, completely falled flat to build anything anyway. But then you get to this big payoff and it was like nothing really happened.
Yeah, it did end really abruptly, I think.
And yeah.
What did it end on? It ended on Natasha's character, Terry.
So
like, what was...
the detective's on the ground dying, and then she just wakes up in bed with her cat and looks around and is like, sad, and then like goes back to sleep. And it's like, okay, so I guess he died. You'd only known him 3 days. Are you all right? Was there a court case? Did this bloke go to jail? Did they like find the other victims'
no resolution
bodies?
whatsoever?
No, it is just kind of it's over now.
Yeah.
One thing that was really disgusting was her having to go into the sewers to get the dead body. I think that was probably one of the most effective scenes.
It was disgusting, but at the same time, that is the cleanest sewer water I've ever seen.
It was cleaner than the rest of the set.
Because I was confused as to like how long was that body meant to have been there,
and also how long was she swimming for, holding her breath? Like, hats off. But yeah, I don't know about the body.
The body didn't look very decomposed. The timelines weren't clear.
There were no timelines, Claire, let's be honest.
Yeah, but then
that is not something they discussed in production.
Was that the body of the haemophiliac girl? Because she didn't look that cut up.
Because that's why it was all like her looking like a ventriloquist doll.
Yeah.
Because he'd like cut open like the whole smile thing. But they didn't even really focus on that. They literally just showed it in a few scenes. Yeah. And then that was meant to be the whole like defining iconography. So it's really weird to me that they didn't really like go ham on that, because it was really like really unsettling image, you know.
Probably studio cuts, because as we all know, this movie was really dark and depraved.
Yeah, and this is this was the sort of like the peak of studios interfering with their pictures.
Oh really?
Yeah, sort of like the 2000s. From sort of 2002 through to 2009, like that's when studios, Warner's were generally better for it than the others, but this film was made elsewhere and then taken to Warner's rather than made by Warner's itself. But like there's stories of like all those films at that time, particularly if they were made at 20th Century Fox, where they'd make the film and then what they saw on the screen at the premiere was very different.
That must be so heartbreaking when you put all of your, passion and creativity and hard work into something and then it just gets absolutely butchered.
I think it's Babylon AD was the most famous example where Matthew Kassovitz and Vin Diesel turned up, and then when they left, they were asked about it, and I think Matthew Kassovitz, who is French, so had no sort of like love for the American studio system, just went, "That's not my movie. That's not the film I made," and then walked off. So it was known at that point that studios would interfere with films, and if they watched something and then decided that this isn't going to play well, they would just take it and reshoot it.
Which still goes on a lot today. You hear a lot about reshoots, right? And I don't know if it's less testing and more just, I don't know, just people not doing a very good job the first time, people changing directors because of, all sorts of things going on. But it's a shame that that's still kind of happening, and we can't ever tend to see the sort of the intended version of the vision of what people are pulling together. Yes.
Release the FearDotCom.
Do you know what? going back to my feedback, I don't even want to type fear.com in just in case it comes up. So there you go. It's made an impression on me in some form or another. Interestingly enough, talking about like the studio interference and things like that, and we've touched upon like its cinema score and how it sort of was received. Just before we dive a bit more into that, like apparently this, the failure, so to speak, of this film, like critically and apparently financially as well, basically just damaged the director William Malone's career. He'd only then direct one more film before retiring, which is called Parasomnia. I don't know if either of you've seen it. I've not heard of it before, but apparently that's it from there.
And this, I believe I've seen Parasomnia. I believe it's also not a particularly great film.
Right.
Because I've not seen the one he did before this. Was it the remake of House on Haunted Hill? And
yes.
I've got the impression that wasn't received particularly well either.
No, it's very stylish, but it's very of its time. It's very of its time. It's a late 90s movie through and through.
Oh,
I kind of like that though. Like I have time for like genre time capsule films because there's so, as we've sort of alluded to, there's so much that's quite samey that comes out at the moment, and it's nice to just be transported back to something that kind of just has its unique vision and, as you say, of its time. You can kind of escape into.
I like going back and watching films that I saw when I was younger and I didn't like at the time, because now that I'm older and I've made films and I understand the process a lot more,
right,
I look at it with slightly sort of fresher eyes, and I'm able to kind of look back with a lot more. When I was younger and I just wanted a job where I got to talk about film, and really I wanted to be a film critic. I just wanted to be. I just acted a lot like Mark Commode. I just trashed it. Whereas now I look at it and I kind of think I can see what they were trying to do, and I kind of feel sympathy for that. Because making films is hard. It's really hard work, and we're test screening our latest film next week, and
exciting.
I'm terrified of like what the responses are going to be, because I like it and the team like it, which is great. But we're about to show it to a load of people who've never seen it before, and I'm terrified it's going to come back and people are going to say, we have no idea what the hell is going on in your film. What have you done? And
it's hard, isn't it? Because it's where the kind of creativity meets the business side of things, because the test screening very much feels like a sense of measuring how we can make it as successful as possible, which isn't ever a bad thing, but also it kind of like feels a little bit like in tension with just wanting to be creative and express yourself in the way that you already have done.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I like to say it's not a bad thing to want to make money off a film, especially if you've sunk a couple of million into it.
Definitely.
And because people need to get that money back. The only way you get to keep making films is if you make films people see and that make money, and that's why we're doing the test screening, because we want to make something that people will see and like, because I'd preferably like to make another film after this. But yeah, so I wonder if like that's also part of FearDotCom's sort of journey, and maybe William Malone made a film that he was very proud of, that was expressionist and creepy and grimy and dark, and maybe he didn't want to come back and shoot these little scenes where people literally come in and say the plot up until that point and then leave. And so that's why it feels kind of disjointed in other places as well, because some of it is just very sort of standard, wide, close, right, bit of dialogue, off we go. And like anyone could come in and shoot that, and I do wonder if that is kind of what happened, and that's why it doesn't feel like it completely works together, because someone else has literally just come in to fill some gaps in places where people have said we have no idea what's going on.
Well, it's interesting because I did a bit of deep diving on our lovely director. I also learned he was responsible for the Michael Myers mask from Halloween. That was
no
him.
way. No way.
He worked in the Don Post Studios that originally made the Captain Kirk mask, and he was one of the people responsible for like turning it into the Halloween mask.
I wonder if he was on because I watched that Netflix show that does all of the movies that made us, and they were
He
talking about that. So I
probably
wonder if he
is.
was one of the ones that spoke about it on there. I'll have to look back at that.
He also helped. He wasn't responsible completely for it, but he helped out on the design of the facehugger from Alien. So he
That's
has a little link
cool.
to that. So yeah, he does have a foot. He seemed to be in the horror world before he
He's
went
got an
into
eye.
directing. But he did an interview with the YouTube channel. I've got it written down, so enjoy my line reading. Slasher Pepper with Roger Walker, which I will put the link to the interview when we post the episode. And this interview was only done within the last 2 years. It was done during lockdown.
Ah.
So he talked about his career as a whole, but there was a couple of questions about FearDotCom, which is where he talked about them moving the production from New York to Luxembourg. And he spoke about the fact that when he was in pre-production for the film, his mum passed away, and then his cat passed away quite quickly in close succession. So he said he was like in a really dark place, and he made a dark film because he was in a dark place. But then the one quote that I found kind of ominous and interesting, and you can theorize from it what you want. He said this kind of laughing, "We were very bad boys. We did things we shouldn't have been doing." And that's what he said about making the film.
What does that mean?
Okay. That could mean many things.
It makes me think that he took their money and just did what he wanted with it.
Yeah.
Because he was in Luxembourg and could.
And it makes and it sums up your thing about, did many people direct this? Because was he just doing what he wanted and getting the like a B, like what are they called, like B unit directors to come in and like pick up some of the slack for him? Like, I mean, that is complete like conjecture or whatever you call it in the legal world. So please don't sue us because I have no money. But yeah, just the like laughing and grinning. God, like nearly 20 years later, just we were bad boys. We did things we shouldn't have been doing. I'm like, okie dokie.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I'm very confused about that one. Usually I have a theory for everything, but
But yeah, he seemed in good spirits when he was talking on this YouTube channel. So if you're interested in his career, I will remember to post it out.
in terms of another quote that I thought was quite interesting from him, just going back to the casting, actually, he mentioned, and I will have to make sure links with the podcast because I haven't got the source here offhand, but he mentioned about Natasha McElhone being potentially miscast. He said he loved having her, but basically felt like the film should have been rewritten a bit for her. She said that the role was basically someone showing off how good she is at her job, and Natasha had a sort of competence but had an elegance, so you don't really buy that with her. And I think that, to be fair, reading that, I kind of lost that. She was her own character in that sense, but if you wanted a character who was showing off that she was good at her job, I did not get that at all. Like, she was great. You could tell she had that confidence and that,
but she didn't seem cocky. She never felt cocky. She always
so
just
if that's what
competent.
they wanted, yeah.
Actually, that does make a lot of sense. Yeah, and if he, sometimes on movies like this, the director doesn't get final say on who they want in the pitch.
You're right.
So it may well have been that actually she wasn't his first choice, even though she's undoubtedly lovely to work with and he enjoyed the process of working with her. It might have been that he was looking for something very different, and that again, would explain why Stephen Dorff's character reacts quite harshly to her in scenes. It doesn't really seem appropriate.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And it would explain why she randomly decides she should stay on this detective case, which makes no sense. Whereas if she was really cocky, she'd be like, "Oh, well, actually, I think I know what to do your job better than you do."
It's all starting to click in my head a bit more now.
It is missing that weirdness.
And maybe the romance could have come out with this.
It would have been a
enemies
bit more like,
to friends, enemies to lovers kind of trope.
And it's heat, whereas she just seemed very nice, and
she seemed lovely. I want to be her friend.
It just seemed like,
she could check my house for rodents and cockroaches any day.
And we got another cat in the film. Now I know how much it costs to hire cat actors. I am always very interested when I see a random cat in a film that has no service to the plot. I was very worried the cat was going to be killed.
I've even forgotten about it, but then I remembered the mouse.
Yeah. Well, it came back at the end because I remember being worried that she would kill it at some point in the film. But it's at the end of the film because she does that random bit where she's watching the video of the German couple and she's like,
I don't want you to see this.
Yeah, I don't want you to see this to the cat.
And I don't think anything actually happened in the film.
No, they were watching a computer screen.
As you do, filming yourself on your camcorder.
That wasn't even the one that annoyed me that much. It was when she is having a nosebleed, clearly terrified, but it's like, I'm going to film it all anyway.
Yeah, it's my pet peeve. It's my pet peeve. Well, we've spoken a little bit about like sort of the criticism and sort of like the reception of it. We have actually, which isn't always the case, got an estimated budget for the film and granted US money, but it makes more sense given that it's in US dollars anyway. So it's an estimated 40 million, and then on opening weekend it had 5.7 and it grossed 13.2 in domestically. Worldwide gross was 18.
Not even 50%.
No, good on the maths, because I was like, yeah, sure, not even 50. Yeah.
I can do 40 divided by 2. I can do that one.
I know we usually look at UK box office, but I did, just for saving time, find on Wikipedia. I know it's not the source. Sorry, we'll put the source in the episode notes. Maybe, I don't know what Claire does. I just say things just to clean up my mess. But apparently in the US, it opened at number 5, which actually isn't too bad.
Yeah.
Behind Signs, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, Triple X, and Spy Kids 2. So they're quite big films. If they're not, you've got a sequel, you've got M. Night Shyamalan, you've got like one of the, biggest sort of like mid-budget rom-coms. Like, not bad going after all of those.
Ironically, Signs is another film that I thought was a horror and then was absolutely fucking furious in the cinema when I realised it wasn't a horror film. That's a film I really need to go back and rewatch, because absolutely, if you ask me about Signs, I absolutely fucking hate it. Like, I want my money back. I had a terrible time in the cinema, but I went in to Signs thinking I was getting a jump scare, creepy horror film, and it's like kind of like a sci-fi film on
any M. Night films?
I like Sixth Sense and I like Split, but so I loved Sixth Sense, went to see Signs, hated Signs, couldn't get through Unbreakable, and then never watched another one until Split.
Interesting.
So, and it took a lot of word of mouth for people to finally get me to watch Split, and then he lost me again on Glass. So
I recommend Old. Old is quite fun.
Old is a roller coaster.
Yeah, I do. It really is a roller coaster.
Twilight Zone's episode. Like, I don't necessarily rate it highly, but I had a blast.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
But that's the thing with M. Night for me. Like, he's just like, his ideas are original enough to keep me going.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like what's great about him is he's one of those directors where you might not know what you're going to get, but for me, that's the fun of it. And I feel like I want more of that. And yes, I go to every Marvel film, so I'm not a hypocrite. I am a hypocrite, but I happily say it. But I know what I'm getting with that. There's a reason I go to those for that reason. But I also want to see films that I have no idea what's going to be shown on screen, you know?
M. Night Shyamalan does the good thing that he always does a strong central character. For Sixth Sense, we have the two. We have Bruce Willis's character and we have Haley Joel Osment's characters, and even Toni Collette's character. They're all strong. They're all interesting. You are invested in spending time with all three of them. In Unbreakable, you're invested, even though I wasn't, in Bruce Willis's character. In Split, you're so invested in Anya Taylor-Joy's character, even without... Okay, well,
with the exception to the rule.
But, there's a strong character, a strong focal point. You've got your avatar as an audience. So even though the plot might be a bit wild, you have your person to be with, rather than just being like, what's going on?
I don't think people will actually ever say, this is a massive tangent, I don't think people will actually ever say these films are bad. They're just, to quote Spike Lee, not my cup of tea. They just don't really like how they play out. They don't necessarily think that they're bad. They just go, do you know what? That one didn't sit right for me.
Yeah, the journey was better than the destination sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes the payoff doesn't fit with certain people, or they just don't like what they've seen. But people go back. They keep watching his stuff because they don't. I think people tend to like 50% of his stuff.
Yeah.
So they go in And it might be a hit, it might be a miss, but
I think as well with Old, and again to continue the tangent, like with Old, there is no explanation he could have given to why that beach turns people old.
Don't tell me what it is,
That
though, because
wouldn't
I'm
make
really
sense.
excited to find
No,
out what it
I
is.
won't tell you what it was. But there's no explanation that people would have sat there and gone, "Yeah, I'm happy with that." There's just.
I mean, I quite liked it.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. Claire, I've got some good news for you. Do you want some good news?
It's the Rotten Tomatoes.
It's
news.
Rotten Tomatoes related. We finally have an audience score that is less than the Flintstones 1994. Did you have a look already to see what it was?
I didn't, but I could tell by your tone.
Oh, yes. I need to start getting better poker face. So audience score is 18%. Critics score is 3%. And critics' consensus is, as frustrating as a 404 error, see what you did there, FearDotCom is stylish, incoherent, and often nasty mess with few scares.
I agree with all of that apart from the nasty bit. And I don't, like I said, I think if
I feel like it's what it infers as opposed to actually shows.
If this had come out 5 years later, no one would have that comment about it. I think all the other comments would stick. But I think if this came out after Saw, after Hostel after the Hills Have Eyes remake, all of those kind of...
They didn't know how disgusting people could really be.
It's like those directors saw these reviews and went, "You think that's disgusting? Hold my beer."
And then another 5 years later, Tom Six was just sitting in the corner like, just you wait.
Oh, Tom.
Well, I mean, we had really horrible stuff in like the 70s and 80s, though, as well. So it does strike me as really weird that people think it's repulsive and such. Because I just, I remember Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah.
I think maybe, was it a sign of, because you're just coming off of the teen slasher wave, really, aren't you, at this point? You've done the free Scream films, you've done I Know What You Did Last Summer, you've had Urban Legends, you've had Wrong Turn, you've just come off of that they're great films,
right? They're quite glossy.
They're very sanitized.
They're sanitized.
They're great scares and they are good slashers, but they are not grotesque.
But they are Psycho in the shower with the knife, never actually breaking his skin.
You maybe get like one or two proper, but for the whole, it's very neat, it's very clean. So I guess maybe in the context of that, but still. And
then as you say, you get the Saws, the Hostels, and that kind of stuff, and all the grimy stuff comes back, because you made a good point, Adam. Like in the 70s and stuff, people, obviously the new Texas Chainsaw came out to Netflix recently. I think it was Netflix. I haven't seen it. But it drummed up quite a lot of conversation with people talking about the original, talking about how, you don't have to spend a lot of money to make such an effective film. And, the way that was shot and told, it felt so disgusting and it felt so dirty and it felt and I think that's kind of what it's emulating with this kind of film. It's just that feeling of just feeling disgusting can make you feel disgusted. So I wonder if that's what people were kind of picking up on there.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably right. It's the set design and the atmosphere that people find repulsive than the actual visceral what you see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whereas we've lived in London rented apartments, so we aren't scared of that shit no more.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a 16 on Metascore. Most of the reviews kind of sort of allude to what we've already said. People mentioning things like clumsy editing. It's LA Weekly, Ernest Hardy says it's filled with the rotting ideas of far better movies. Which I really like the way that's phrased, given the film.
We should try and remember that, because I feel like as we continue down our path on this list, that's going to come up more and more and more.
What, just rotting films?
Just like films rotting that you can just tell were like people maybe who wanted to homage and just outright copied, but with, pantomime, everything.
Yeah, as I say, people mentioning sort of like germ of an interesting idea from TV Guide magazine, Maitland McDonough, smothered by gloomy cinematography a la Seven, grating implausibilities, like the fact that everyone lives in the kind of cavernous, dankly art-directed dumps that only internet milliers and trust fund Twinkies can afford in the real New York.
Beautiful roofs.
Proper big lofts.
Yeah.
But if you were to walk into there looking like that, you'd be like, this is disgusting.
That is something I wrote down. It's like, why are all the houses decrepit and run down? Why?
Yeah.
They're all just like everyone
Like
seems to live in a shell.
the hacker lady, because I can't remember her name. Terrible. Should definitely
Cockroach
remember.
Jess.
Should definitely remember women's characters' names. The place that she was in, even before it went full. Curtains blowing in the wind because a window's been smashed open. I don't know, and all of the lightning before it even got to that point, which we don't even know how. It looked like a really creepy, horrible room to be in. So I don't know.
And they go to see Terry's boss's wife after he dies, and like
Oh
she's in
yes,
a room with no carpet and like completely bare walls, and
yeah.
it just looks like she's in an abandoned house for some reason.
It's weird, isn't it?
And you'd assume his job would pay well if he's the head of the Department of Health.
It's like the complete opposite to these like Netflix rom-coms where everything is like perfectly glossy, like magazine ready houses. Cool. Does anyone else have anything to share about their opinions on FearDotCom, or should we switch gears and talk about some films that we really like?
I'm happy to switch gears.
Yeah,
So-
I think I'm all .com'd.
All
now.
.com down.
It's one of those films, isn't it, where I've heard some of your podcasts before, and you've gone for like ages and ages and ages. But this film
Oh,
is offensive. It isn't disgusting. It's just boring.
Well, because we haven't talked about like our overall rating or whether we think the film should be on the list, and it's completely that, Adam. Like, I do not think that this is a good film, but I am very surprised that it is on this list, and I'm very surprised that it has an F cinema score because I'm like,
don't feel strongly enough to
yeah,
give it that.
its biggest offence is that it's boring and isn't tense. It forgot to build up any tension, and it's a bit boring and a bit stupid. And I'm like, I'm very surprised because I was like interested it was on IMDb, like our bottom 100, but it's really interesting that it's also like one of the lowest on Rotten Tomatoes. It also is one of the lowest to ever get an F cinema score, and it's like, where has this absolute universal hatred for this film come from? Because
Yeah.
I really don't know how you could not watch it and do exactly what Adam did and instantly forget it.
I'm not sure like which of you I was speaking to when we first started talking about this episode, but I said to one of yous, I started watching it last night. I could only make it halfway through. And whoever replied said,
Clare, I
I don't know what I'm in for. This is terrible. Oh, God, I'm not looking forward to it. And I was like, no. Its biggest offence is that it's boring.
Yeah. And so, like, I am in no way saying this is a good film. But I could probably only, like, the meanest I could give it is 1.5, and I'd probably give it 2 because it's coherent enough that, like, has a start, beginning, and end. It's not a good start, beginning, and end. It's semi well acted. It's semi well shot, depending on how dark you like your movies. And like, I think I'd give it 2 stars, and I would say it doesn't deserve to be on this list because I really just think I've seen so much worse. I've seen so much
I think
stupider,
coming out the other side of Razzies, I think
more offensive. Like, I'm like, what? Why this film?
Yeah, interesting. And I wonder if it's, a lot of our films are on the list are noughties, and it remains to be proven, but the bias of IMDb's growth and boom of people logging films that they'd seen maybe in the last however many years probably means that the ones that they were maybe most disappointed about are the ones that if you have a really, really bad meal, that's what you review badly. So it might just be like a weighted thing of, no, it's not the worst film in the world, but it's not what people are expecting, and therefore it's stuck in their minds. And then when they when everyone joined Letterboxd and it says, what films have you seen, quick review them, like I have a feeling that IMDb was probably like that when we first joined back in the day, and it really encouraged that. It had all the message boards, it had all things like that. I bet like it was always, do you remember that film? Like, it was a bit naff, wasn't it? And these things build up, and then I think it was just one of those things.
This one is an anomaly like that because obviously you two have yet to experience the joys of Uwe Boll.
Oh God, yeah.
But like Uwe Boll's films, I think like they're not good. And House of the Dead, I still put down as like the worst thing I've ever seen.
Really?
But
Can't wait.
for him, so much of I think the hatred towards him and what he did is more about how he acted at the time
His response to
than
it.
the films themselves.
Definitely.
I would recommend when you do Overbold, do all of them at once, because the story of the man is more interesting than the films themselves.
But yeah, he does sound like a terrifying man who does sound like he will come for us.
Oh my god, don't. I think just to add on that tangent before I forget, it's interesting to think about that kind of backlash in light of Morbius, because I wonder if Morbius would be getting so much flack if it wasn't Jared Leto. And that's a genuine question. That's not me saying it wouldn't, but it does make me wonder how much is tied into Jared Leto made it even more.
20% less. I think it would.
I'm not saying it wouldn't be anything at all, but it's one of those ones where it's just like, right, okay, the hatred of the person involved, I think makes it more of a conversation, because if it was just bad, people would just be like, okay, move on.
I think it would be it's a real shame it was bad, whereas people seem to be delighted it was bad. I think it would be the same level as bad, but the context in which people discussed it would be completely different.
Yeah, he's just got that kind of reputation, hasn't he? Like, there's that thing that's just come out about the wheelchair. And all that. And I mean, I've worked with an actor who was like that. I worked with a guy who insisted on ironing his own trousers because that's what the character would do. And it was crazy. But so I can understand why there's that frustration. Morbius as well, it's been delayed like 8 times, even out of the pandemic. Like, they've kept delaying it. So it's kind of like it was doomed.
It's got a spotlight on it right now because of that. But just something that came to mind as sort of a bit more of a modern example.
And like you say, people were keen to hate Leto, particularly after like his role in House of Gucci, which I feel is unfair because he was one of my favourite things about that film. He's not good, but it's amazing.
I didn't think he was particularly good, but I enjoyed it.
I really liked House of Gucci.
I liked the film. I really liked the film. I didn't think that he was. I thought he was a bit of a caricature, but I still enjoyed it.
That was exactly what they asked him to do. I felt like he understood the assignment completely and went with it.
That edit when he opens his mouth to cry and it cuts into a car horn is just brilliant.
That's the second time that's been mentioned, hasn't it, Claire? Someone else mentioned that before. I need to rewatch that bit. Yeah. So star rating. Shall we go for star rating?
I'm going to.
I'm going to go 2 as well, because I feel like this could have been quite middle of the road for me, but there was a few bits in it that brought it down. Things like that weren't excusable, like really bad dubs at the beginning. It just felt a little bit schlocky in that sense. So otherwise it would have been a bit of a 2.5, because I actually was quite scared by it, more so than I think you guys were. So I was a little bit more, I had more intriguement, is that word? And more scaries than I think you two had.
I'm going to start sending you pictures of like old computers from the 90s.
Don't. I don't like it. No.
Oh my god, I just wish I was recording video right now because your face is so innocent.
No, I don't even like the fact that my TV's off right now.
Oh, wow.
I don't like a blank screen in case it turns on by itself in a spooky way.
But I
shouldn't be publicly broadcasting this.
I sleep with noise, and I used to sleep with the TV. Now I sleep with podcasts because I'm so scared of insects. I'm lying down in silence and I hear even just the breeze go past. I'm like, what was that? Was that a spider? Is there something on the floor? So I need to overstimulate myself so that I can't think about that.
You know, when people sleep with the TV on, I have the sound completely off because I don't care about the noise. It's having the TV not be blank. So there you go. Something quirky about me. Everyone said. Anyway, 2 stars from me and Claire. And what do you give the rating?
And you don't have to tell us how you sleep. You can just give us the star rating.
Don't have to do the edit.
Sleep like a lead balloon, I do. But I'm going to give it 1.5 because there are things I like about it. I like the atmosphere. I think some of the camera work is brilliant. I always like seeing Stephen Dorff in something, or Nash Malone in something. But this film did cost me money.
That's quite a hefty fine.
It was about £25. And I could have bought it for that.
Easily, yeah. I don't think it should be on the list.
I don't think it should be. I think I'll probably save this one because it does some interesting things. Like, I wouldn't want it to be amongst some of the other drivel we've had to.
Yeah. No, I don't
through.
think to this list at all. I mean, I have seen some shit, and this is not of that sort of quality. You know, there are films. There are loads of films on the bottom that I actually don't think deserve to be on there.
Spice World.
It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Me too, and I'm really worried that nostalgia has played a big part in my love for that film.
But yeah, this doesn't deserve to be on there. You know, I think part of that is because I have seen some genuinely terrible stuff, and I think because no one's seen that, it doesn't rate so lowly on the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
but yeah, no,
I like that. Free in agreement. Saved.
Lovely stuff. Right, now should we talk about some films that we like? So the theme for this week, we have gone with named by yours truly, killer thrillers. We wanted thrillers that were specifically revolved around serial killing or killing of some sort, aka crime procedurals that have a few stabs and a few dead bodies in. For good measure. Adam, as our guest, would you like to go first? I know you've brought quite a few to the table, which I'm very excited to hear about.
Yeah, when you first told me it was killer thrillers, I was like, oh, excellent, I can definitely do this. This is amazing. And then I spent a good hour last night writing and rewriting and then trying to figure out, should I include that? So I have two honourable mentions from Korea, which are one called I Saw the Devil, which I imagine a lot of people have seen anyway. It's a very popular film, but that's well worth it. It's about a detective who's chasing a serial killer across the country and trying to stop him murdering people and bring him to a close. And he does it, you know, it's like a personal vendetta for this detective. It's very stylish. It's very well made. It's brilliant.
I've definitely heard of it. I'll make sure that I check that out.
And the other one is called The Chaser, which is another Korean one, which is set in this kind of weird Korean suburb where there's women going missing and they're trying to solve it. And it's like there's really mixed cases of identity and such. It's just really, really awesome. And to explain it would be to give too much away. Because the Koreans do like crazy storytelling. Like they're not afraid to take risks at all and such. So definitely worth a check.
Korean cinema is definitely something I want to delve much more into. Just foreign cinema in general, but yeah, Korean horrors sound amazing.
Yeah, they are. There are no rules. They just do things, and then they're like, "You figure it out." Like you're watching it. But the three that I wound up sort of putting together, I didn't pick 7 because I thought 7 would be too obvious.
I wonder if it's on mine and Daisy's list. The most basic bitches out there.
7 is like the archetype for this type of film. Like, if you haven't seen it, sort yourself out. Because it's brilliant. Like, it's never been bettered in recent times, I don't think. Like, it's just fantastic. So I went with things that, although the people who listen to this podcast probably watch a lot of films in general and may well have seen all of these and just be like,
apart from my friend Kaylee, who has literally only seen like 3 films, one of which is Notting Hill, but she listens dedicatedly every week. So
shout out.
Kaylee, start watching some more films, please. Make notes.
Not FearDotCom though. Don't worry about that one.
So I went with, for number 3, I went with a film called The Watcher, which is a Keanu Reeves vehicle, and he plays a bad guy, which is obviously quite rare for him. He plays a serial killer who stalks and murders women, and I believe it's James Spader. In fact, I'm going to have a quick look.
Who normally kind of plays the sleazy bad guy.
But he's like it's really he's being chased by James Spader, who's a detective. And the kind of like the fun of it is the dramatic irony that Keanu Reeves is the killer, and I really enjoyed that. And again, it has that incredible kind of like 2000s nu metal score. In fact, I believe it opens with a Rob Zombie song, and I was just like, yes, I'm down right away. Like, I only needed to hear the opening chords of Dragula, and I was like, yes, this is it. That's it. I'm sold. Number 2 is a film called The Cell. which
I've
is a
heard of
Jennifer
this.
Lopez vehicle.
We spoke about that very briefly in our Glitter episode. I've not seen it, but I would really like to.
It's a film that kind of splits people. People either think it's really, really great or really, really terrible. It is a visual beauty. It's a genuine visual beauty. She plays a doctor who's created a machine that allows her to go into the minds of comatose people.
Oh wow!
And they, the FBI bring a serial killer who they've tracked down, but who has been put into a coma whilst he was trying to escape. And they want her to go into his mind so they can locate his latest victim who is going to die if they don't reach her in time. And so the visuals are just absolutely off the wall. And it's from that time before Jennifer Lopez became the rom-com queen, when she was still like doing interesting stuff.
She wasn't that big of a singer even quite yet then. She hadn't massively popped yet. We're going to have to get on this before we do our Jiggly episode, because we're going to go diving on J-Lo then.
I think it's well worth it. I like it. But it does tend to split people down the middle. And for number one, I picked a film that I'm sure a lot of people have seen called Copycat, which is Holly Hunter and Sigourney Weaver. Sigourney Weaver is an agoraphobic psychologist who Holly Hunter goes to try and solve a series of copycat killings. There's a serial killer who is murdering people based on famous serial killings around the city.
Oh, wow.
Really, really great film. Came out around the same time as Seven, and so, it was one or t'other, and the world picked Seven.
It's really, because I was just like, how have I never heard of this film? But then the more you spoke about it, I was like, wait, I feel like I've maybe seen a bit of that on TV once, but it was like halfway through the film, and I was like, this looks interesting. I have no idea what they're talking about. I'll find it out later, and never went back to it.
Yeah, it's a really good film, but it ain't Seven. And that's what let it down. It ain't Seven.
But it's Holly Hunter and Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah. It's really good. I really enjoy it.
These are fantastic recommendations. I haven't seen any of them, and they all sound amazing.
I normally make a list just for the podcast, but I'm like, I will be able to take a picture of this list.
Which is great, because me and Claire are about to do some really basic choices.
Oh, God, I don't even know.
In shame. I'll let you go first.
Well, because normally it's you that's like, does this count? And this time around, I'm like, do any of these count?
Oh, so both of us are going to be like, does this count? But I have my reasons. I made the category, so I can do what I want.
Okay, I'm going to do my first one, which I think I know should count, which is another Korean film. It's Memories of Murder by Bong Joon-ho. Went to see it at the cinema last year. Prince Charles was showing it on the big screen, so I was really pleased to see it on the big screen. I never want to watch that film again. It terrified me. It is about the murder of many young women in a town. They are abducted every time it rains. Whenever there is a storm, a young woman is abducted in the night, and there are just some really useless detectives trying to sort of solve it and realise, these cases linked, and it kind of goes off on random tangents about the lives of the detectives, but the way the scenes of the girls being taken is done is really brilliantly. But I found it as I'm not young anymore, but as a mid-aged woman who lived alone and then had to travel back from London back to Kent after that film, I was like, came out in the dark, and luckily it wasn't raining. I was like, if it had been raining when I came out of the cinema, I would have just sat down and cried, because I found it very affecting, and it's a true case that at the time of the film had never been solved, and it has now been solved, and the person who was arrested for these murders had actually seen the film.
What?
And just watched it, like, before he'd been arrested, just gone and watched this film about this great unsolved case that he was the perpetrator of.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, really good film. I'm on a parasite, I did the classic, that man won an Oscar, let's go watch some foreign films now, but I was very pleased to watch it.
I'm quite surprised that you didn't steal Seven.
Well, I thought I'll try and be different. So okay. You can have 7.
Okay, I'll steal 7 for reasons we've already discussed at length. The joining together of the horror that is unveiled purely through crime scenes, as opposed to seeing any kind of the actual sort of torture or killing, is just it's unreal, to be quite honest with you. I don't think there's ever been. It's one of the most affecting films I've ever seen. Fantastic, like just a masterpiece of performances. Instantly, like the iconography of it all. It's just a shame about Kevin Spacey, but
He's barely in it.
pretty integral role, but barely in it.
That's the best thing. You don't have to look at his face.
It's true. Yeah, just and I remember studying the opening credits in media studies, and just the little details about, like, like the shaving off of the fingerprints, and just all of these tiny little details that just stick in your mind. Yeah, very dark, grimy, completely atmospheric. As Adam said, if you haven't seen it, like, make it the top of your list. Like, it's timeless in terms of these sort of killer thrillers. So that's my first pick.
Fun fact, I had only watched it for the first time last year during lockdown. Loved it.
Is that when we watched
we did the
together?
watch party. So I started watching it an hour earlier so I could watch it on my own and enjoy it, and then came to the end of the watch party to be like,
Nice.
oh my god. But I was convinced that you saw what was in the box. I'm sure everyone knows what was in the box, but I won't say it anyway, just in case.
No, you
but
do not.
I was convinced that you saw it, having never seen the film, because I have seen it. So I was like, I've obviously seen so many, like, faked memes of that film that when it didn't show it, I was like, what fucking cut am I watching? And I had to, like, I was like, oh no, I've just seen someone's, like, sick mocked up version of it.
Oh, yeah. Much better when it's left to the imagination, I think.
My favourite meme of that was, I think Radiohead made a video for one of their songs, and Morgan Freeman lifts up the box, and it's just Tom York's head singing the song in the box. And then he just, at the end of it, Morgan Freeman just kind of shakes and closes the lid.
Radiohead have some great videos. Good people. Okay, would we say... No, I'm going to do a safe one first, because then I've got two that'll be... Well, I don't even know if you'll let me have a safe one. Can I use Silence of the Lambs?
Yes, you can, but it was what I was going to do next.
I let you have 7.
I know. This is why I said, do you want to go completely first? Because I've got basically the basic bitch of
yeah, so I thought we'll be fair. So yeah, I'll do Silence of the Lambs, mostly because I've seen it a few more times than 7. I've only seen 7 the once. Very effective, very well done. Jodie Foster, amazing. I like that we get, even though there are obviously some issues with the portrayal of Buffalo Bill, and when we look at it from a trans narrative, it is not very good at all. It is, for what it was at the time, an incredibly interesting portrait of he's not really, he's killed lots of people, hasn't he? We just never we don't see him do it.
No, he's already been profiled by that point.
But yeah, just, I mean, what can anyone say about Silence of the Lambs that hasn't already been said? Definitely, I can't add more to it. Go listen to 100 million critics talk about why it's amazing, because
another one. If you haven't seen, straight to the top of the list, you won't be disappointed. And then if you haven't seen, you'll finally know what all of the things are about. So,
and also, I would recommend checking out Michael Mann's Manhunter, which is Hannibal Lecter before he was Anthony Hopkins, based on the novel Red Dragon.
Oh,
right, because there's been other sequels and...
Isn't there even a Red Dragon adaptation that's not...
Yep, and the Hannibal TV show did Red Dragon as well.
The few episodes I saw of the Hannibal TV show looked gorgeous, looked brilliant, and I love Brian Fuller. Why I never just watch it from start to finish, especially when we just had lockdown, I will never understand. But one day I will finish that show and understand.
I mean, I haven't seen it, but
like, people were still to this day just devastated that it was cancelled the way it was cancelled, and I look forward to joining them.
But yeah, I truly recommend, if people are checking out Silence of the Lambs for the first time, also check out Michael Mann's Manhunter as well, because Tom Noonan plays the villain, the serial killer in that one, and Tom Noonan is the creepiest man in Hollywood.
Oh, definitely. I've added that to my little list.
See, I don't know if you're going to let me have this one, because it's not like super gory and like in the serial killer, in the kills, but it's like peak serial killer crime detective, and you absolutely hate it. It's Zodiac.
I'm down for that.
I'd allow. Yeah, because he's
You'll
killing
allow it?
people. Yeah,
He's
yeah,
killing
yeah.
people. There's
Yeah.
detectives.
Because we see
That's
some of the
my.
we see at least one death, if not two deaths.
Yeah, you see people being stabbed and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's enough.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing, right? We've gone leaning more towards the thriller aspect of FearDotCom, even though there was a lot of the Saw hostel horror-y stuff. I feel like I've lent more towards the detective trying to solve the serial killer case vibe. And I know you don't like it, but I love Zodiac. It is very long, don't get me wrong, but I think the performances on it and the pacing for me works really well. I always feel completely enveloped in the whole story. I think David Fincher's a very interesting director in that I am quite entranced by watching his stuff, even though it's quite glossy, I would say, in terms of the way that it's shot. I don't know if he works with the same cinematographer every time.
He
But
used
yeah.
to, and then he stopped working with them during Panic Room, because I just listened to a podcast about Panic Room, and they never worked together again after that.
Interesting. I might have to look and see if he
The
found a new
episode
partner.
on Panic Room. Have a listen. The Ringer don't need any free advertising, but it was an interesting episode.
I haven't actually watched Zodiac in ages, but I do have it on Blu-ray and I do need to rewatch it again. Should have rewatched it actually when the Zodiac Killer was revealed, which was the most bizarre piece of news that ever got buried amongst weird news, right?
Is that real? Is it really the Zodiac Killer?
They found
It's
him.
really real.
Yeah, he's called Gary.
It's called Gary.
Yeah. Because there were so many. I mean, feel free to do research. I saw it in news outlets specifically, but then the problem is then I was more interested in the memes afterwards. And never would you have ever guessed at the time of the actual Zodiac killings that, however many years later, there'd just be memes of someone going, "Yeah, but is he really called Gary though?" Because I just can't see it.
For me, Zodiac is Fincher's peak film. Like it's Fincher at his most Fincher.
Yeah, it's his most
Fincher
Finchy.
Massive influence on me, and I absolutely adore all his work, even Alien 3. And for me, Zodiac is still his kind of peak. It's him getting to do whatever he wants.
And the basement scene. That's all I'll say.
Because it's very interesting because I remember having this whole thing about Zodiac being renowned as being not very good. Like, for years, I always thought that was the narrative, that people thought Zodiac wasn't a good film. And then during lockdown, like, getting more involved with, like, film Twitter and whatnot, I suddenly realised that Zodiac is, like, revered and people love it and people say it's Fincher's best film. And I've had a copy of the DVD pretty much since it came out that I've just never bothered to watch. So I was like, cool, I'll watch it. And it just didn't work for me pacing wise, but I can absolutely 100% see why people love it. Like, the acting is great. That basement scene, I will say, is one of the best scenes I've ever seen in a film. Like, that is cinema,
Tension.
like filmmaking at perfection. And then the thing that I can't be mad at him about was I was really disappointed by the ending, but like that's not his
at the time, Gary was unbeknownst to everybody.
I think I would be more disappointed if they were like, and here's Gary.
Have you got the on DVD? Have you got the original cut or the director's cut?
I think even if I had both, I would have watched the original. I tend to, if I've not seen a film before, I try and usually watch the theatrical.
Because I didn't care for the theatrical cut the first time I saw it, and then I saw the director's cut, and I was like, "Holy shit! Finally, I think a film is better for being longer."
I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to go back. I'm just going to let everyone else enjoy it.
I've got the Blu-ray, so I assume it has both on there. So I'll have to compare one day. I can't remember what.
I liked 7, so I'm with Fincher. I'm like a half and half. I'm never. But,
fair enough.
So I wanted to do one, but I don't think it has detectives in. I've not seen it in a really long time.
Don't worry, mine's a little bit dubious. So
I don't know if you've seen it. Adam, you probably have. Single white female.
I can't remember if there's a detective in Single White Female.
I don't think there is, but would we say it worked as a killer thriller? It's more of an erotic thriller, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, thriller's such a broad genre, and she is a killer.
She is a killer, that's thing, and she has, like, it's my favourite, probably top 3 anyway, kills in any cinema of all time. She does a stiletto heel to an eyeball.
Ooh.
It is just. My mum showed me this film when I was like 12. She was like, "You should watch it. It's great." And in fairness, I should
Learn
have
how
watched
to
it.
protect
It was great.
yourself.
Yeah.
And then my mum has for the whole of my life always said, if you were ever being chased by someone, take your shoe off and fucking like go for their head. And I'm always like, no, I think I'm just going to sit on the floor and cry, which is when I was chased. That is basically what happened. But I also wasn't wearing heels that day, so
No.
didn't fucking help me.
This is why women wear heels.
Yes,
It all
but
makes
honestly,
sense.
that's his perfection. I do. If we don't want to go with that one, the other one I was going to do was Kiss the Girls, which is not a perfect film, but I also read the book, and it's such an iconic film of the time and of that genre. So maybe I'll do Kiss the Girls, but just if you've not seen Single White
I have
Female,
never heard of
go
this
see
before.
Single White Female. So Kiss the Girls was like a really popular book, and again, my mum let me read Kiss the Girls when I was way too young to have read Kiss the Girls. But
I think Kiss the Girls is great. I love Kiss the Girls. I really like the Morgan Freeman, Alex Cross films. I like both of them.
They're great, yeah. And it was one of those ones that always used to be on BBC One on a Saturday night. And it was just like, even though I'd already seen it, if I spotted it was on, I'd just leave it on and let it. It was a classic one of those that you just couldn't turn off. The book and the film are a little bit different. So I'm kind of remembering the book more than the film at the moment. In the book, there are two serial killers who like get in touch with each other, and they like kind of trophy and talk to each other about their crimes and all sorts of stuff.
Interesting. I don't think I've ever seen or heard like a story like that before. That's really interesting.
The film takes quite a lot of liberties, because also didn't the film, because the book is there's Along Came the Spider and then Kiss the Girls, whereas
I've heard of Along Came the Spider.
I think the films came out the other way around. I think Kiss the Girls came out first because it was a more successful book, and then they did the prequel Along Came a Spider. But like it's just a really well done procedural. The villain, the serial killer is great. And it makes me miss having terrestrial TV, because you don't get that just flicking through the channels and great, just a great mid-level genre film. That's like Kiss the Girls is exactly the film people were talking about when they say they don't make those kind of films anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I've got a very long recommended list to to catch up with. So my final pick is an interesting one, and I actually do think it fits the brief, but it's just not something that I would have ever considered before. It's American Psycho.
That was on mine, and I was going to do it, but then I went for more bog standard.
Yeah, well, it's only because I haven't seen that much. I always think I've seen all of these films, and then I go, can I include Saw in this one again? No. I could, but I won't.
I'm sad you didn't go for a third Fincher film, if I'm completely honest. If you let yourself down.
Yeah, well, we can't give him everything, can we? So American Psycho, like, before I go into the film itself, like in terms of the detective element, Willem Dafoe, I love him in this. He's just so like, it's like, does he know? Does he not know? He's just very good poker face, very interesting portrayal of, because usually what that role would be is what you sort of said earlier, Claire, is the avatar of being the straight man, so to speak, the person that's going into this crazy world of all these things are going on, so that you could essentially put your audience there. But we don't really ever know what he knows or what's in on it, and that's the whole thing about the film, right? For those who haven't seen it or read it, or cover your ears, but like we never really know whether the killings have happened or not, so it wouldn't make sense for anyone else to know either. And yeah, I guess I used to see this as a horror film, but actually I do think it's a bit more of a thriller, because it's all about, him building up these murders, and it's not necessarily, you have horrific elements, like the murders are horrible, but it's more about him chasing someone with a chainsaw, very differently to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. If you were to put those next to each other, they're done in a very, very different way. And I think it's about what's built around it. It's this, him building up to the brink of complete combustion. And will he ever get caught? It's the thing about him getting caught that really makes you, even though you like clearly aren't supporting him in his endeavors.
It's funny because like I used to always think it was a horror. I wouldn't say, I totally get why you say it's a thriller, and I think it definitely
it's just a bit of both, to be honest. I think it sort of blurs genres a little bit more.
I see it as a dark comedy.
Yes.
I've completely gone. I don't think I saw the musical with Matt Smith, which also was hilarious and brilliant. Loved it. Whole scenes in the bathroom with a whole song about doing coke and murdering people. But so I think after watching the musical, I now will only ever see it as like a really dark comedy. But I do think you're right; it does fit.
I think it is a dark comedy, and I really love American Psycho because Mary Harron knew exactly when to stop.
Yeah.
The book carries on past that point, and the book is one of the few books I've ever read where I've just gone, that's disgusting, and I never want to read that again.
I think I bought a Bret Easton Ellis book once to read when I thought I could be all cool and literary, and I don't think I ever even cracked it open. And then I think I decided that I both couldn't be really cool and literary, and that if I was going to be, I wasn't the right class of upper class white American man to get on with Bret Easton Ellis.
His second book, Rules of Attraction, for me is his best work, and it's just really, really well done and interesting thing on sort of perception and how people perceive themselves.
That was made into a film as well, wasn't it?
Yes, and it was very different. And they actually tried to get Christian Bale to play Patrick Bateman as he appears in Rules of Attraction, and he said no because it's so tonally different. But the books are tonally different as well. But I read American Psycho, and I came to the end, and I was like, that could have ended 100 pages earlier, and it wouldn't have been any for the worse.
And that's why you get a female director in, because women know where the line is.
I mean, the book really goes, and like the themes are all about excess and the excess of the 80s culture at the time.
Yeah.
But there's a point in it where I was reading, and I was just like, I never want to read this again.
Wow.
And I mean, I've read The End of Alice and that's a book that made me feel unclean after I finished it.
I've not heard of it.
But that's one that will never be made into a film.
But Netflix will try and make anything into a film these days.
Unless you can convince people to want to have a paedophile as the lead character, you'll never make that into a film.
And she closes the tab looking it up.
It made me feel unclean, but I could also appreciate the cleverness of The End of Alice and how it tricks you.
I think this is a good point about how not everything has to be made into a film.
Yeah, it doesn't, and it really doesn't have to be made into a film. But yeah, Mary Harron knew exactly when to stop with American Psycho, because that bit where it ends is about 3/4 of the way through the book.
Oh.
And yeah, it keeps going, and I was just, and the more it kept going, the more I was like, I'm a bit bored of this now already. I'm a bit fed up with it.
Fair enough. Okie dokie.
What a set of films.
Yeah, lots, as I say, lots on the recommendation list for me to get through. So thank you so much for bringing all of those, Adam. That's really exciting to delve into more of these, hopefully, probably better thrillers than FearDotCom.
I just like to show off how little I get out of the house.
Yeah, but I can only do that with really bad rom-coms from between 2002 and 2007.
We all have our niche, Claire. We all have our niche. So yeah, that about wraps it up for us for FearDotCom. Tell us, please do get in touch with us. As always, we'd love to hear, have you seen the film? Are you going to plan to see it now? And do you think it deserves a place in the bottom 100? You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at WRatedPod and on Letterboxd at WRated. Adam, do you want to share where we can find you on social and anything you'd like to plug? Anything exciting going on for you?
This film.
Yeah, sure. So I'm on Twitter as @AppleParkFilms. It is a company account, but I like to try and act like a human being because the company is just me. And I feel that I've had a lot of success with film Twitter, like relating to people on film Twitter and being human with them. So that's where the majority of my success has come from. So I'm keen to continue that. So if you connect with me on Twitter, I won't just be trying to sell you things. At the time of recording, I am, because we're raising a bit of money. But by the time this is edited and put together, that will probably be over. So I will be just usual kind of sarcastic and sometimes I'm funny me. But yeah, I make films, and interestingly, the film I've just made is a contained thriller. The film I've got in post at the minute is a contained thriller about a cult leader who has convinced his cult followers to give over all their money and told them to prepare for a mass suicide. Wow. And on the eve of when this is supposed to happen, he's not shown up to deliver the instructions as to what they're supposed to do. So his two most loyal followers get concerned and trap him in the church that they use as a base. And over the course of one evening, they like each of the three people try and outplot and outwit the others.
Oh, cool.
It was written by another very friendly member of Film Twitter called Chris Watt.
Oh,
He wrote the screenplay. He and I have been friends on Twitter for years, and we finally got the chance to work together. And yeah, we're really excited because we think we set out to make something that we can make like really quickly and easily in COVID times and just finish it and get it out. And then we made a really good film by accident.
I love it when that happens.
I love a cult film, so I'm definitely interested in checking that
and,
out.
But yeah, so I'm really excited about it. We're test screening it next week. I won't plug the ticket link here because no one will hear it by next week. But yeah, so we're really excited because it's the first time. Like, not only are people going to see it, but the people who gave us money are going to see it, and that's always nerve-wracking.
Best of luck! Sounds really exciting.
Yeah, it is really, really exciting. Spike Green as well, another film Twitter person who's really. He bought a watch party ticket, and I literally am concerned that I'm going to watch him explode with excitement.
No,
when he watched it, because he's so keen,
and
he's been so supportive, and it's been so lovely to have his support.
We'll definitely, when this episode gets released, make sure to get you to send us a little tweet updating how it all went, so we can update eager listeners.
I will do.
Yeah. Awesome stuff.
But yeah, that's me. I've made films before. I don't just make thriller films, but I do love watching them.
Mm-hmm.
My kind of career has jumped around. I made my first feature film was a kitchen sink drama told non-linearly. That was
I love a non-linear narrative.
I made a science fiction film that I absolutely love. It's about a writer who learns to experience emotions by his interactions with a robot. And I got given a lot of money to make that, and it was my first time making a proper film with a proper crew and cast. And that was an experience, and that's something that I'm incredibly proud of, and that's toured the world and won a bunch of awards and such.
Oh, congrats.
And then I also made a segment for a horror film anthology called I Am an Addict, which dealt with my sort of fear of parasites. It's about someone who's eating loads of food and then has a very unpleasant experience with something in his stomach whilst he's on the toilet.
Oh, Claire's not a fan of that.
I'm sorry, I'm not watching that one.
That's fair.
That made me feel a bit.
That has been that, to be fair, that reaction is the reaction that a lot of people have had. That face you pulled.
That's genuinely made me feel a little bit.
But it's something that terrifies me, and I think if I make horror, it's got to be something that scares me as well. And then, but it's also really funny because my friend Finn is in it, and he's just naturally very funny, so it kind of walks the line. And that's why we call it toilet humour, because there is fun. There is a lot of humour in it, and then it just turns nasty at the end. But yeah, that's kind of me. That's what I do. I've reached the point now where I have to admit that it's not really a hobby anymore.
Claire, where can we find you tweeting and posting pictures and reviewing films and all of that kind of jazz?
You can't find me reviewing films anywhere anymore, apart from here.
Not Letterboxd?
And not even really. God, I can't even remember the last time I watched a film. I genuinely think FearDotCom might have been the last film I watched. I'm going to go see Sonic tomorrow. There we go. High class.
There you go. Cleanse the palate.
You can find me on Twitter at Claire Ellen Hope. Same on Instagram. I'm just basically spending a lot of time stealing free food from work. So check this.
Very envious.
I might be double the size.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, because when you said earlier that you chose the massage chair over the treadmill desk, there's always that option.
one day I'll use the treadmill desk, but everyone can see you on the treadmill desk.
Just
so
go at a leisurely pace, a saunter.
People will judge my form, and I don't want to be the
Your
wanky one that goes
form.
and uses the treadmill desk because I've never seen anyone use it. So I'm like, I don't know.
Lead the way, Claire. Lead the way. No, I'm
I
only
already
joking. I
feel
definitely
wanky
wouldn't use
using-
it, would I?
Everyone
It's
can.
perfectly okay to feel that way, because at the end of the day, if you wanted to go for a walk, you'd just go for a walk.
Yeah, go outside.
I mean, in fairness, I don't even know if I'm allowed out of the building during my work hours. So
What?
I don't think I don't know. It's a weird. I'm paranoid, man. It's a weird place. I'm like, as long
And
as
we
I'm
can't
logged in the
say
building,
where
I
it
can do what I
is.
want. Can't say where it is.
Anyway, right. So, thanks for tuning in, everybody. If you enjoy listening to our podcast, please do give us a follow or subscribe. And we'd love to hear what you have to say. If you'd like to give us a review and a rating as well. And we hope you can join us for the next episode where we continue to take on the next worst rated film on the bottom 100 list. See you then.